Now, has Nigel Farage convinced you with his plans to address what he called uncontrolled illegal migration? Give us a call now. He's outlined reforms plan to deport 600,000 asylum seekers in 5 years.
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route. And if we do that, the boats will stop coming within days, because there would be no incentive to pay a trafficker.
If the party came into power, it would build secure facilities, he said, to hold 24,000 people. They would be deported every month. Farage says he would do deals with countries like Afghanistan, Eritrea and Iran to return migrants. He was asked about the dangers of doing this. Let's hear his response.
Well, the alternative, of course, is to do nothing. I mean, that's the very clear alternative, is we just do nothing. We just allow this problem to magnify and grow. We head to a point where and I genuinely, I'm not, I don't want this to happen. I want our proposals to be accepted so that we can prevent civil disorder from happening. But that is the direction this country is headed in. And we cannot be responsible for all the sins that take place around the world. It's just literally impossible.
Mr Farage says the party will be able to do more, as it will pull out of the European Convention on Human Rights and the UN Convention Against Torture. The government's criticised all of this as back-of-the-fag-packet plans and unworkable gimmicks. But has he convinced you, Andy?
No. I think the realpolitik that Reform are very likely to have to face up to after the next election is going to be quite sobering, and is going to lead to even more civil disruption, because it's almost like this is, for people who really feel this is their number one issue, Nigel Farage is their last chance saloon. And if he isn't able to deliver what he says he can deliver, I think we're looking at civil unrest, and I find that quite frightening.
So they would be in government by that stage?
They're being governed by that stage, and they'd be realising that we have treaties with other countries. We do have international laws that if we want to maintain economic treaties and have a powerful economy, as we have at the moment, struggling, but the world economy is all struggling, right?
Yeah.
So it's a time you want to keep things on an even keel. What you don't want to be doing is losing your treaties and your respect on an international stage.
Pulling out of the Convention on Torture is a weird one, Lynn, because that was we decided to make torture illegal in 1650.
I think the reason for the torture one, it doesn't sound nice at all, but when you look at the law surrounding the torture laws, it's probably in relation to how they would house these and then quickly deport them. Because a lot of the legal jargon is around, people can suggest they are feeling tortured in certain living conditions.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So that's probably why it's not like,
to do with sanitation,
we'll be able to whip them and all that. I don't think it's going to be...
But you've got more faith in Farage doing this, have you?
It's not necessarily faith. It's that I'm not willing to hear what the Labour Party has to say. I'm not willing to hear what the Conservative Party has to say, because for the last decade, this has been in the top 3 of people's voting, that their reason for voting is immigration. And if you aren't going to listen to the British public, party after party, there will be civil unrest. So I think people are now, I echo what you said, Nigel is their last chance. And to be honest with you, when it comes to illegal crossings or, boat crossings, however you want to coin it, it is out of control. On average, it's around 30,000 a year. We're looking at over 500 a week. What are we going to do?
This is the thing we're not hearing about, that actually Labour is acting on what it said it was going to do with illegal crossings. The amount spent has gone down on housing them. The numbers have gone down since 2023. Have the numbers gone down? Right? Yeah, they've gone down since 2023. 56,000 in 2023, 32,000 now. So, these things, they go on a wobbly line, but ultimately heading downwards, right? So the amount we're spending, the number of migrants that are actually being processed, they are going down. And what Keir Starmer is trying to do, and I do not agree with everything Keir Starmer says, OK, I'm not like a dyed-in-the-wool Labour supporter anymore, used to be. But I think what he's trying to do is respect international law, maintain treaties and stay true to British values, right? Which is...
So just on your facts, though, Britain currently houses 32,000 people in hotels, an 8% increase on the year since Labour came to power.
56,000 in 2023.
It's gone up since Labour came in.
Illegal migration.
Did I not talk about a bumpy line?
Well, yeah.
Bumpy line, guys.
OK, let's take some calls. We've got loads of calls on. Grace in London. Is Farage's plan going to work?
no, and lots of the papers have done a good job of outlining some of the reasons that his plans are not going to work. I mean, he said that we would get this much money back into the NHS if we had a Brexit deal, and clearly that's not happened, so people shouldn't trust him. He's a commodities trader. He's not a politician who knows what he's actually talking about. But I was interested, he mentioned sin. And sin is not just some of the evil things happening in our world that some human beings are fleeing. I'm very well aware that some people who are coming should not be coming, but there are some people fleeing terrible things. But those things are not the only things that are sin. Sin is a problem in the human heart. We all have problems in our hearts, and Jesus offers to take sin upon himself, and we can't pretend.
Well, hang on. This is I love, obviously fascinated by that bit, but you're drifting off the reality of how we stop the boats. Unless you're going to bring God in.
To get to.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get to. Well, Farage said we need to get back to Judeo-Christian heritage, so here we go. But no, we can't fix the problems of the whole world, but we need to have compassion for other human beings, and we also can't pretend that we will stop people wanting to come by just stopping boats.
Well, hang on. His whole logic, but surely his logic is, if he can arrest, detain, deport people within, let's say, a week of their arrival, pretty soon, he says, people will stop coming because they'll realise they're just going to get turned around.
Well, as I've said, there are various reasons for which his plans to stop boats.
Yeah, but why doesn't that stack up logically?
Well, there are various things about the legal framework. Also, people will try coming by other routes. And we cannot resolve the problems of Britain by keeping people out, because all of us are very fallible, and we're seeing more and more unpleasant behaviour amongst us native white British people.
We don't want to keep people out, we don't want to keep people out. We understand, and so does Reform understand, that we need immigration to fill the labour gap. What we're talking about is people coming over on boat crossings, mostly men who are unable to work, and we can't house them. You're talking about compassion. What about the average British working person who pays taxes, that's been sitting on the housing list for over 10 years? They can't get into temporary accommodation because we have to house these people coming on boats first. Is that fair to the British person?
Thank you, Grace. Deed in Manchester. Hi, Deed.
Hi, Jeremy, and hello to all the panel.
What do you think? Is Farage has he got a workable plan here?
I think he has a workable plan because the other two parties have no idea. And I've not been a great fan of Nigel, but he's saying what most British people are saying. We cannot sustain this. And the only way to stop it is at source. Stop them coming into the country. Send them back. And the reason why a lot of people don't want to send them back, a lot of these lawyers are making a lot of money, and all these boat pirates, whatever you want to call them, are making so much money, they're not interested. They'll keep sending them. And Nigel's spot on with what he said. And the other thing...
So, Andy, what do you think? What Deed is saying?
I always think there's more to this. I have to couch this quite carefully, Mr. Deed. I think if the people migrating to this country were French or Swedish or Finnish, it would be a very different response to them. I do think that there is an issue here about assimilation and a sense of otherness. Like, this does not feel like a population in the country that feels British to me and my idea of what Britain stands for. And I think that's at the root of it.
But people have said in the past, you could say, you may feel that French culture is more compatible with British culture than, let us say, Somali culture. And I say that because Somalia's been in a war for 20 years.
So let's have an honest conversation about it, rather than talking about, this is actually making GP waiting lists longer, which is more to do with underfunding. Actually, the problem is that we're worried about people not assimilating with our culture, and we're worried that we're at risk because of it.
But Andy, I don't think we can say that, though, because I, again, as I keep on saying, my mother is from Pakistan, my father is from Barbados. They both weren't born here, and we all have an issue with what's going on. So we can't... I understand there are people that will use and weaponise this as a race issue, and that's wrong. However, let's just look at the numbers. Let's look at... There are resounding echoes from people who are also migrants that are concerned about people coming in, and their taxes are going on this.
OK,
so
let's take a break. Let's take a break. Your thoughts on Nigel Farage's plan to tackle the migrant crisis. Has he convinced you? So he's going to pull out of the Convention on Human Rights. He's going to basically turn people around on the beaches and send them back to wherever. But of course, if they don't say where they've come from, That's one particular problem because people are throwing their passports in the sea. And also, how do you talk to the Taliban? It's not impossible.
I think it would be.
Have they got a phone?
To find out, because they're going. As soon as they come ashore, they ask for an interpreter. You're going to have to say what interpreter you need, right?
Haven't the Taliban been quite receptive? I saw this morning.
I think the Taliban are.
Afghanistan, yeah, we'll take some.
This is unbelievable. The Taliban turned up at COP29, the climate summit, given that they won't. Can you believe this? If you're a woman in Afghanistan and somebody hears you laughing in your house, you get arrested. So these characters turn up at a climate summit? Anyway, so they are available. You can ring them up. And you could probably pay them as well. 0207 862 2222. Get your calls in now. Will it work? Nick in Nottinghamshire, will it work?
Good morning, Jeremy. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Andy. Absolutely not. No, it's absolutely laughable. First thing I would like to say is, well done, Keir Starmer, in tackling this issue. It actually feels like there's adults in the room at last. But as for
what's he done? Because, hang on a minute. I know he smashed the gangs hasn't worked. The numbers are going up. We've got a civil unrest in some areas.
Jeremy, well, firstly, the civil unrest was directly instigated by these right-wing groups, OK?
I don't know.
That's not true.
I don't know if that's true.
It's not true.
I do. OK. The smashing the gangs, well, Jeremy, did you expect them to just flick a switch?
Well, they sounded a bit like they would during the election, I must say.
No, they didn't. They promised 10 years of renewal. And frankly, mate, the measures they put in place seem like the adult response to solving the problem.
Well, it's a very difficult thing to deal with, there's no question. Thank you, Nick, very much. Cheryl in Powys, hello.
Hello, good morning.
Will Farage's plan work?
Yes, I'm with him all the way. Actually, Labour and Conservative have had their day. Yes. They've tried, they've failed. I'm sorry, I just want them out and gone. I think we should have an election now and put Nigel in. He can't do worse than what the others have done.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. This thing of have somebody else because they can't do any worse is not...
Well, the thing is, I spent 80s in Africa as a nurse, and I could tell you tales of woe that would make your hair curl if you had any.
I know. If I had any, yeah.
They are not us. And the thing is, it seems as if this Labour Party is putting...
Sorry, Cheryl, what do you mean by they are not us? You spent a long time in Africa and you said they're not us. Well, because there are many people coming in from Africa that's actually propping up our social services and our NHS.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, they are still tribal. They are still tribal wherever they go. I'm sorry, but
that's not necessarily
I don't think...
true.
I mean, some societies are, of course, and I mentioned Somalia.
We're tribal too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Country. This is our country.
But wait, when you say our, then do we mean the Welsh or the English or white or black or everyone, or where? Do you have a clear idea of who our is?
Our country.
Our country as in who?
Should African people not come here, Cheryl?
No, I'm not saying. I think if they're professional, by all means. I've got a lot of professional African friends. But on the whole, they are not us. They have got tribal values. They bring them here. You've got people who don't want to speak English to us.
I think some of this is drifting into
I think tribalism is actually a human trait. Look at hooliganism, look at Scots against the English against... It's not just African people, Cheryl. I think you are misplaced here.
Andy, what do you think of that?
I think there's an issue with what Cheryl's saying. It reminds me of football supporters. They get a new manager because they didn't like the last one. 3 games in, we need a new manager again. I think we've got to give Labour a little bit more time. OK, it's been, a year and a half. You can't flick a switch, as the first caller said. It's no use saying we need to get rid of them, we need to get rid of them.
Well, that's why we have elections every 5 years. Politics. I mean, in the end, you get to run into trouble in years 1 and 2, and you know you've got another 3 years.
Keir Starmer is playing a slightly longer game. He's saying, I reckon in 4 years we'll have got this sorted and it won't be such a big issue. Well, we'll find out.
He's fighting against the decision of the High Court. report which...
What he's fighting against is the mainstream media and
No,
media.
are you following the story in Epping where there's migrants in the hotel, they have accosted girls...
Well, hang on, we'll be careful here because it's a court case.
OK, but Labour's actually fighting against it.
There was an allegation, which is before a court at the moment, and then people then kicked off and are still kicking off. But then look at this, on the other hand, the Farage, look at the Mail coming in behind Farage. So they're almost now, they used to be the Conservative newspaper, now they're almost the Reform newspaper. Finally, a politician who gets it. That's like all his Christmases come at once for Nigel Farage. And the difficulty for the Conservatives is they say, well, he's stolen all ideas. And you're thinking, well, you had 14 years, and they can't really answer that. With Labour say these plans are rubbish. The Conservatives say they're the same as our plans. So he's somehow landed something which has split them. Thank you, Cheryl, for your call. I'm going to think about that one. Douglas is in beautiful Devon. Hi, Douglas.
Hello. Mine's a two-pronged.
Sorry?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
No, I couldn't. I go again. Say again.
Right. Yeah, mine's a two-pronged thing. First of all, I think it will work. Yeah.
Yep.
Because it'll keep his fascist lot happy. But are you really telling me that the Taliban are such lovely people now that they're going to take back all the women that we said, go and get educated, come on, we're going to let you be doctors, nurses? Are we really saying we're going to take young men that ran away from the Taliban and say, oh, come on, we'll find you a job? You know, they're going to kill them and torture them.
But Douglas, isn't that the whole point about Farage? Is he saying if you if you come from Afghanistan, you'll be sent back, and that will stop. He thinks it'll stop people leaving.
Yeah, and so will machine gunning them from Dover when they arrive.
Well, yeah, he's not suggesting that, obviously, but...
Douglas makes a good point.
Andy?
Douglas, I think Douglas is making a really good point. We need to return to the humanity of this, that yes, there are people coming over who shouldn't, but there are also people who are seeking asylum, people who are coming because they're frightened for their lives. Now, I speak as a gay man. If I had been born in one of those countries, I would be stoned to death, put in prison, if I was lucky, who knows what. And I would want to escape to a country where I could be a citizen and live freely and safely. And then to be turned back, oh, well, just because you weren't born here, naff off, is, I think, inhumane. And that's the root of this, isn't it?
I agree with all that, but then we say, so we must take all gay Syrians, for example, because they do horrible things to gay people in Syria.
Yeah.
If you have that as a rule...
Everyone's going to say they're gay.
Well...
A lot of people are.
I was wondering that.
And what I do support is people where we have involved ourselves in conflict, like Afghanistan. We do have a duty because, like you said, like you said earlier, there was not this huge conversation about people coming from Ukraine. So maybe there is a sticking point with regards to, you know, we had an easy channel for them to come here because of the conflict. So we should with Afghanistan. But there are many people from countries with no conflict, for example, Eritrea, no war since 2022. Why are we still seeing many young men come here?
Eritrea's gone bonkers as far as I can... Since the last time I was in... No, last time I was in Eritrea, it was quite stable.
Are we involved?
It seems to have... No, we're not... No, that's true. That's true.
We can't be the accepting of every conflict across the world if we're not involved.
If we've got any colonial connection, I think we probably...
That's our guilt.
That's where it goes.
History.
Andy thanks, Douglas. Andy in Worcestershire, hi.
Hi, Jeremy.
Well, will the Farage plan work?
It will work if you give the man a chance. Your title on the screen, has Farage convinced you? I know what has convinced me, and that is that Labour and the Tories are just chances. They have got no plan. They've got no way of getting us out of this. And if a man comes up, stands up and puts his head above the parapet and says, we will do this, you've got to give the man a chance.
Okay,
because
Andy,
the country is calling out for it.
Thanks so much. I'm only moving on because we've got one more call before our break. Howard in Lincolnshire, hi.
Hi, Jeremy. Hi, panel.
Do you agree with Andy?
Well, Farage has not convinced me at all. I think he's a proven liar, a career liar. I think he's got a history of only saying what the people want to hear to stand any chance of then getting into power, which in itself I think is an absolute frightening thought. The idea of him as Prime Minister, I can't stomach the idea or the thought of that at all. I think he has not convinced me at all.
It might be, there's a lot to play for between now and 2029, but we might be heading that way. I don't know. Thank you, Howard. Thanks so much. Thanks for all your calls. I know we'll come back to this subject again.